Boxall, and Birch should all be gone.
I was expecting to get some fight for Boxall.
Well, you're gonna get a little fight from me on Boxall. Okay. It's just because I saw, like, when the season started, I didn't know anything about him. You know, he's a New Zealand national.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't know much about him. I didn't even know that. You know, but as the season's grown on, or as the season's gone on, he's kind of grown with me.
Like a virus?
Yeah, well, I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, that's not a positive thing.
I don't know. I just, to me, I saw, you know, not that just he got his first goal. I just look at him as a big body, you know, technically sound defender that I saw some growth. I guess that's what I was trying to say.
Let me stick it at you right now, and you can argue with me as much as you want. I saw Boxall as a guy who he had some moments, but I think we can get better in that area. I think we can get somebody better in that area.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that, and that's why we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. But he's a guy that, you know, I wouldn't say let's drop him. I would say, well, you know, maybe. I guess you kind of have to make that decision. Right now, I would take that off.
But look how much he makes, though. I mean,
I'm looking at that number. It's $267,000 a year. That's fairly high. Yeah, it is a bit high.
And so, the reason I wanted him cut, one, his salary. Two,
he's 30.
He's an international.
And he's 30.
And three, his age.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for me, I was like, I have nothing against how he plays. I think he was fine. I think the majority of our defensive woes were on the wings and in front of the CBs.
And before we go any further, I have to correct myself from earlier before the break. I'm pretty sure at least 2 or 3 times I mentioned that the salary cap was like $500,000. Yeah. I meant to say about $5 million.
$5 million.
I knew what you were saying.
Yeah, okay. Well, not maybe everybody else didn't, but when we just mentioned is 200.
Dave is now on suspension.
Yes. We lost some listeners.
I'm just making a correction. So I meant to say around $5 million because when I say that Boxall makes $267,000.
But here's my deal. I look at those 3 guys right there. Okay, Ibson, Boxall, and Birch. Okay, Ibson's 35. Get him out of there. 35
and he's making $317,000.
He was around in the NASL days.
Who gives a shit?
But he's making over $300,000. It's incredible.
Yeah,
he's got seniority.
Get him out of there.
Okay, I'm not going to disagree.
Birch is 34. He's making 140, but he's 34. He's 34.
I think for Birch, 140 isn't really that bad of a price for him. However, he dropped off significantly with his injuries this year.
But the funny thing is, those 3 guys we're going to look at, all of them are over 30. Yep. And Boxall is 30, and he's making $267,000.
Yep.
Okay? I don't know if Boxall can go anywhere else and make that kind of money. Because he's 30.
Yeah, probably not. In fact, he probably came to Major League Soccer from, what was it, South Africa, right?
He did, yeah.
Because of that pay.
Yeah. So he's making way too much money. Now,
well, not to mention it's much more secure here than South Africa.
Now, if they could re-sign Boxall for, let's do him at 150, would you keep him at 150? I would.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, maybe he's one of those guys where you give him an offer like that. If he accepts it, great. But maybe he's a guy that you don't protect in the expansion.
Well, and here's the thing. He could be a guy that has an option, which means you're not going to have a choice.
Right.
But I think you can do almost the same or a little bit better than Boxall at a lower price with a younger guy.
Well, and I think so, too. And on top of that, I think you can get a guy that has Major League Soccer experience.
Exactly right.
If I were them, I would try to find like a 27-year-old, 26-year-old from Major League Soccer, get him in at like 200,000, 180, something like that, who is, I mean, he doesn't have to be a superstar. He doesn't have to be fantastic. No. He just needs to be a Brent Kelman.
Yeah, that's
a reliable
guy.
Yeah.
So those 3 guys, I think I'm pretty good with that. Stevens, I know you're not with the Boxall thing, but
I mean, I'm just throwing out like counterpoints. It's debatable there, and it'll be. I'm very interested to see how that one turns out. Actually,
okay. next we have Calvo. We're keeping this guy.
Oh yeah, and
Why wouldn't we?
I think it's funny because I know we've gone back and forth on him all year, especially earlier in the year. But I mean, there was a point at this podcast where we all admitted, how much when he was finally when he left us for World Cup international duty.
Thank God.
And wow, wait a minute, we actually missed this guy. So I think we all agree. Calvo.
And he was out of position for a long time.
Well, and that's the thing. I have him on my chart as starting, but I have him on my chart as starting. Though I say his position is center back, left back. I'm saying, look, starting, he needs to be at left back.
Left back, yeah.
There's no question about it. If he's not
he shouldn't be
at left back starting, he doesn't belong on a roster.
We saw how bad he was at center back. I mean, we saw the mistakes he made at center back.
Yeah, and I don't even think he's necessarily bad at center back. He just he tends to make mistakes.
It was moments.
Average at center back.
Yeah.
He is great at left back.
Without doubt.
Put him at left back.
And there was a couple things that I feel like he's a big part of this team. I don't, we're not in the locker room, but I feel like he's one of those guys that, he wants to put the team on his back.
Yeah.
He shows that emotion. I know one of the games, I think he was red card suspended. Was it Dallas or Houston? He made the trip. He was there in the stands watching the game. I just feel like he's a part of this team, a big part.
We need him. He definitely, I agree. He seems like one of those guys that will do anything for the team.
And he's 26 years old.
Exactly.
A young guy. Okay.
And reality is, at 26, maybe in 2 years, he might still be valuable enough to transfer out if he continues to grow at left back.
You're right. So Calvo is one of your keeps. Cronin, again, it's one of those guys who's over 30. And he's making $208 a year.
Well, and on top of that, he hasn't played all season because of his concussion.
Exactly right.
I mean, I think he's done anyway.
He's one of those guys who can say, it didn't work out for you, and it is what it is. Fernando Bob. You have him as a...
I have him as a
starter. At 30 years old, and $152,000 a year, he works in that level there.
For the price is right.
The price is right.
And the thing for me is also, so further down this page, I have my wants for signings, and I do have that I want them to sign a DP, defensive mid.
Yeah.
So if that was the case, then Bob would not be starting. But at this stage,
but he works.
And I mean, I don't know. I don't know that I've seen enough of him, honestly, to make a great judgment. But at that price, and
he's going to grow. I mean, he's been slowly growing into the team. I think he looks pretty decent.
He's Bob the Builder. Yeah. Can we do it? Yes, we can.
Oh, we definitely have to keep some Brazilians on the team. So.
Yeah. After that,
the only one.
we've got Dinlade, who's at 186. Yep. He's 23 though. You can't get rid of him. I mean,
earlier in the season, I was almost advocating for cutting him.
Yeah,
just because of his injury concerns.
He's young.
At 186 and 23, I think it it makes sense to keep him on the roster. And bring in a serviceable forward just in case he gets injured.
But he's learning some things. I mean, I see it. I think he's going to learn some things from Darwin.
Yeah.
I mean, he's gonna figure out. He's 23 years old. I mean, we got to at least give him 2 years out of the guy. See if he can do it. If he can't, then get rid of him. But
I think Manny Lagos brought this up in his interview with The Athletic about how they aren't entirely set on him even being a forward. They think that maybe he could be a wing.
A winger. Interesting.
I think that's, interesting. He's got a lot of pace.
He's got the speed.
Yeah.
He's a very fast guy.
He's not a big guy.
No, he's very quick.
Yeah.
Whenever he comes on, Dinladi, whenever he comes out as a sub, it's a very fast guy. He's kind of like, he's got his whole thing set up. He could be a winger.
Yeah.
Could be a winger.
And it reminds me of it was Montreal in 2017. He came on as a sub. He ended up scoring the game winner. I mean, he was like lightning quick across the goal, and it had that crazy angle. Yeah, I mean, I think if he can, at that salary, at that age, we need to start thinking that his injuries are an issue, but I don't think it's enough to get rid of him.
Okay. So next one down, we got Finley. You're going to keep that guy around.
Yeah, I think so. And now I did realize after making this, that my formation is going to get real interesting. Because I have him starting on the right as a winger, and I have Miguel Ibarra starting on the right as a winger. So that doesn't really make sense. But I'd like to see us do a 4-5-1, where we could have Finley and Ibarra on the right.
Sure.
So Finley would be on the far right, and Ibarra would be inside. I would love to see those two with Romario on the other side.
Sure.
And then we have a box-to-box and Darwin inside.
Let's not talk about Finley anymore.
But Finlay's also a Minnesota guy.
I know. But
Well, kind of a Scotty, actually.
let's go to the next guy on your list. His name is Alexi Gomez.
Should be a quick one.
And he's red!
He's red.
Why is he red, Sterling?
Well, because I can't be mean. I'm not that mean of a guy.
Let's get rid of him. Let's
Sayonara.
go. Bye-bye.
Because he was an MLS Cup champion last year? Oh, no, I'm looking at the wrong list. Okay. No,
What?
He should be dumped. Yeah, okay. That's
He's back to Peru. All intents and purposes, everything we know looks like he's already been cut.
Yeah, he already said, you talked about this when we were on break. He's already put out the feelers that thank you to them, the Loons and blah, blah. And I say thank you to Alexi Gomez for
being the Blair Walsh of soccer.
Yeah, making me do the do. Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, we don't get to do that anymore. Maybe somebody else will step up.
Yeah, that's.
I have a feeling they will.
He's. Let's go. Let's move on. Heath.
As we do this in alphabetical order, of course. Yeah,
Midfielder.
You know, he's a young. He's the son of the head coach, right? And
yeah,
he's a homegrown player, relatively low salary. I think
low
this is a
salary,
no-brainer.
Of course, yeah.
He serves. I mean, he's absolutely no, other than taking up a roster spot.
Yeah, he's there.
He's not of any real. Real threat to our roster. I mean,
no.
He's so young yet that I mean, give him a shot.
And he doesn't necessarily have to even be on that, the top 1 through 20, and 1 through 20. That's where your salary cap. That is your salary cap hit, and then you have spots 21 through 30.
Yeah, I mean, I would even say send him out on loan. Mm-hmm. Once we set up our USL with Madison, which I suspect it's going to be. Yeah. Send him to Madison for a season. Or even just the first half, see what happens.
Madison, which we'll talk about at the end of the podcast. I think if Madison gets the team that I think is going to happen, we're going to go out there.
I mean, he's not a threat to a roster. I just don't.
No.
I know a lot of people are really pissed because it's nepotism. He's coach's son.
No. Soccer
He's not doing anything. I mean, he's not harming anything. He's actually looked, when he's been on the field for us, he's actually looked pretty decent. He just needs more minutes. He's never gotten that opportunity.
And the reason we're talking about him right now is because he's past Gomez. Let's get to the Ibarra.
Miguel,
and let's see, Ibarra Jr., Ibarra Sr., okay? So Ibarra Sr., Miguel, got to keep him. He's 28.
He's still got years.
I agree with you, and I think I just like
he needs a pay raise too.
And what he probably does for what he shows game, and like we talked about it, he had the most appearances by any player, and he played a ton of minutes, appeared in all but one game, and just he's Johnny Hustle. Like
that's what I love about him. That's what I love about.
That's what everybody
Miguel.
loves.
Dave, is the fact that Miguel is one of those guys who just he sprints everywhere. He's everywhere, and he doesn't take a play off. He doesn't do anything. He does some bad things, but
sure,
he is trying to make a play on every time he gets the ball, he's making a play.